Today we're going to talk about significant figures. So you should have watched the two videos above. I think they do a good job of explaining what a significant figure is, how to identify maybe how many sig figs a certain number has. The main thing we need to do in this IB course is be able to round to significant figures. So IB expects your answers on the exams to be accurate to a certain number of significant figures, and sometimes it specifies. Otherwise, it's just 3 sig figs is what they expect. So we need to practice this rounding idea. Now, it's probably been a couple years since your teachers really cared about rounding. So back in elementary school, you would have learned how to round to the nearest tens and hundreds and thousandths place. You also would have went into the decimals, right? Tenths and thousandths. You would have went that direction and learned how to round. It's just that we kind of take a break and we start worrying about all this more difficult math, this tough math, and then at some point we kind of lose the ability to round. So I hope that hasn't happened to you, but if it has, this is going to be a good refresher on not just rounding, but also what a significant figure is. Significant figures are used in science a ton, so as you move through different science courses or the ones you take in college, you're going to see this concept very, very often. Okay, so it is a skill that you could potentially see again. So if we look at this number, based on the video above, we would say this number has 5 significant figures. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no zeros, so we don't have to worry about, well, is that 0 significant or not? This is just 5 sig figs. We only want to round to 2. So we always want to pick the 2 over on the left side. So we want to round just to these digits. So a long time ago you would have learned if the next number is greater, 5 or greater, you round it up. And if it's less, you don't round it up, you leave it the same. So to round this to 2 sig figs, it's going to be, there's a little video error, it's 16,000. So the 342 is less than 500, so that makes us think like we do round that down. And now this number that we just wrote only has 2 sig figs, just the first 2 digits. The last ones are just kind of tailing zeros. Those are no longer significant figures. All right, so for B, now we have this decimal point involved, 3.001. So if I were to ask you how many significant figures are in this number, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 significant figures total. We want to round to just 2. So once again, we're looking at the 2 furthest to the left. So we want to round to 2 sig figs. This 0 is less than 5, so it does not push the 0 up to a 1, keeps it the same. So this is 3.0. Now we do need the 0.0, otherwise just 3 is 1 sig fig. 3.0 gives us 2. All right, for part C, we've got 3.057. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4 significant figures total. We want to round to just 2 significant figures. 1, 2. Now, because the number after this 0 is a 5, that 5 is going to push the 0 up to a 1. So this would be closer to 3.1 than it is 3.0. So if you think about closest to, since we've got this 5, 7, that makes us a little closer to 3.1 than we are rounding down to 3.0. So this is more accurate. The IB really likes rounding to 3 significant figures. So on the exam, they're going to want all answers in 3 sig figs unless otherwise stated. So this would be a good habit that we need to start getting into, is this 3 significant figures. If I look at this number, we're sitting with 4 significant figures total. 1, 2, 3, 4. These trailing zeros are not sig figs since there's no decimal point after them, indicating more accuracy. So these are not. So we're looking at 4. We want to round to 3 significant figures. So you're always asking yourself, do I keep these and just tack zeros, or do I need to round that last one up? Since this is an 8, the 6 gets rounded up to a 7. So this gives us 257,000. And I'm always looking at my final answer. Is this 3 sig figs? 1, 2, 3. We're good to go. B, this might be some notation. It's been a while since you've seen. So the bar over a decimal like this indicates that it's repeating. So this number is 0.33333, like forever and ever and ever. Okay, that's a third. So 0.3333333, forever and ever. So I kind of, when I see that, I like to write it out. That way I can get a better understanding of what's going on. This zero, this leading zero here, is not significant. The significant numbers come after. So for 3 sig figs here, we've got 1, 2, 3. Those are our first 3. This would have like an infinite number of significant figures, right? Because it's repeating, it goes on forever. We just went around to 1, 2, 3. Does the last number need to be rounded up? Nope, because it's a 3 following it. So this is 0.333. All right, last question here, question C, 0.7196. This has 4 significant figures. The 0 doesn't count. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them right here. We went to round to 3. And this one's a little tricky because this 6, we think, okay, does this number need rounded up? There's the 6, so the answer is yes. What do you round 9 up to? Well, it gets rounded up to 10, right? That's the next number. Well, that means it becomes a 0 and it bumps the one in front of it up. Okay, so let me say that again. So this 6 needs to round the 9 up because it's greater than 5. So in order for the 9 to get rounded up 1, it actually becomes a 0, and we toss the 1 over here because it's rounding up to a 10. So the correct answer here is 0.720. Forgetting that 0 at the end would indicate loss of significant figures, so 1, 2, 3, so we're still good. Okay, so pay attention to that. If you've got lots of numbers that are greater than 5 back to back, sometimes they might end up pushing that second number over up as well. One thing to take note of is these numbers, these answers, are very, very close to the same value as the original. We're not changing the value. We're not doing anything to make it different. We're just rounding it, getting it, I guess, getting rid of some of that accuracy and rounding it up, okay? You might round something up like you go to a concert and the person over the loudspeaker doesn't say, hey, there's 8,752 people here tonight. That's not what they say. They say there's more than 8,000, right? Or maybe they say almost 9,000. So this rounding idea, we don't always need great accuracy in what we're describing. And so this kind of gives us a set way on how to round certain numbers. All right, you guys have your homework listed, so go ahead and get started on it. And as always, just ask me if you need some help.